Hello, everybody, and welcome to From Average to Savage, a show about health and fitness from an average point of view. This is your host, Jose Vivanco, and I have struggled with weight management my entire life. Well, that's a lie. I used to be pretty skinny when I was a kid, and then I just went off the rails there, I guess. So, the goal of this podcast and my show and myself as a person is to help you, my listeners, and obviously everybody around me to become more health conscious. What I mean by that is to realize that the weight comes off when you're a healthy individual. It doesn't necessarily have to be a diet where you're starving yourself or, taking pills or anything like that. Like, I've tried all that kind of stuff, man, and it works. It works for the time being, but it's just a band-aid. It's nothing but a band-aid. It doesn't stick. I've gone all the way from 235 pounds down to 165, and then I basically gained most of that back. And again, it's just because I ended up doing things wrong. To give you a little bit more information about myself, I used to be a fairly skinny kid, but then I used to have this nanny that whenever I used to come home from school, she'd always used to give me these massive loaves of bread with butter and a Coke. And that was basically what I was having for dinner. On top of that, whenever the actual food that my grandparents would cook for me was at the table, I didn't want to eat it anymore because I was already full. Bread and butter and a Coke. It's pretty filling for a 6-7-year-old. So that's where my weight started to increase, and I started to become more unhealthy. When I was younger, I had to do this little race once. It was a 2-kilometer race that I had to do because, my fat ass did not want to do what my teacher was asking me to do in gym class. So she said, okay, you want to pass this class? You better go to this run where there's 80 kids running and it's a race and it's an actual race. So I went out there and, I did my best. I basically jogged most of the way because, when you're extremely overweight, it's very difficult to run. So I just remember that as I was approaching the finish line, I could hear my grandma just yelling, "Go, Jose, go, go, go." And she just cheering for me. And then she says these words, "Keep going so you're not last place." To which I realized, wow, I'm not last place. That's cool. But I also realized that the last place was pretty much right behind me. So I turn around to see who that is. And it's this kid with a cast on his leg. I didn't lose a race to a kid with a cast on his leg. So this memory is huge to me because it reminds me that how bad it can get. It with all respect to this kid, good on him. It's a huge example of perseverance. From my point of view, I could have quit. There was 80 kids running, and I ended up 39th out of the whole race, which means that half of these kids quit. And myself, as out of shape as I was, continued to run. And obviously the kid in the cast that almost got ahead of me in the last stretch of the race. So, that's kind of to show you a little bit of the struggles that I've had. Also, when I was around the same time, my doctor told me that I wasn't able to play soccer anymore because I was destroying my knee. So he forced me to go into swimming lessons, which I absolutely hated with a passion. I can't even come near a pool anymore because I got borderline traumatized by this experience. My little grandma, who is probably just over 100 pounds, had to drag me from my house to the swimming pool so I could go to these lessons. I just hated it. So when I moved here to Canada, I was still on the chubby side, not quite like super fat, but I wasn't skinny at all. So I started playing soccer competitively and the weight came off. But you know what? The pizzas were still there. McDonald's was still there. And it's nothing against my parents. Don't get me wrong. Like, my parents did the best they could. Obviously, with little knowledge on the health side, it's very difficult for anybody to raise a kid in a healthy way if you don't know the background or anything about health in general. So my mom, she, did the best she could. at keeping me healthy. And then one day she realized, you know what, man, my kid is getting fat. So she started with the little hints, like, you sure you want to eat that bread there, bud? Like, you sure you should be eating that sandwich? You could grab an apple. And at the time, as a kid, I mean, I was already 13 years old. The apple did not seem appealing to me at all. So after that, I continued to work on myself. I got to a point in high school where I was like, you know what, it's time to start hitting the gym. So I hit the gym, went with my mom to a store to get supplements, and this guy was trying to sell, or get rid of, I should say, weight gainers. So when my mom and I came in, we didn't know anything about this. Obviously, I was only 16 years old, I believe. And this guy said, yeah, man, this is the best protein around. This is what you need. It's going to get you in great shape. You're going to be playing soccer like crazy, man. Like, you don't even know. So my mom and I are like, yeah, man, let's do this. Let's buy this. So we got this, follow the labels, and I'm putting 4 scoops of this protein powder in my shaker. And I'm like, man, seems intense. So I wasn't working out properly because of my lack of knowledge about it. And I ended up gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight. And most of that was fat. So I ended up getting pretty fat again, because that's what happens when you don't know exactly what you're doing. So as my years went on, I ended up trying fat burners, because I read on a magazine that these fat burners were great. But what I wasn't paying attention when I chose these specific fat burners was that it was an advertisement. It wasn't really an article. So I fell, like most people do. The average person does fall for advertising. I fell for it, and I bought these pills, and I thought for sure they were going to make me super skinny. So here I am taking these pills religiously, and suddenly I'm starting to find myself that when I started to get stressed or any sort of anxiety, my heart would just not beat normally. It felt funny, and it felt like I just couldn't breathe, like it would hurt to take a deep breath. And so I went to the doctor, and he said that, yeah, these fat burners were causing issues in my heart, and my muscles were just not working properly. So I got off them. But because I've always looked for the easy way out, I ended up falling for it over and over again with different ones. No heart problems, but you know what? They didn't work. And the only time that I've ever seen them do anything, they were also working side by side with me eating healthier and having a happier lifestyle, which now I realize that was actually the reason why I lost so much weight at that one point in time. It wasn't because of the pills. The pills had nothing to do with it. Even if you look at the back of the label of one of these magic pills, they tell you best results with proper nutrition and proper exercise. The reason why they put that on there is because it's the exercise and the proper nutrition that get you leaner. It's not the pills. They're just a placebo. They're just caffeine pills and a bunch of chemicals that I can guarantee you that, mostly as an average person, we would have no clue where they came from. And you can't be putting that kind of stuff in your body and expect it to work properly. It's just not going to happen. So I ended up going back to the gym without any sort of pills or any sort of protein. But again, I had no clue what I was doing, so I just kind of dropped it. So my life took me back into soccer again. At this point, I was about 20 years old, and I started to drop some of my weight again. But like I said, man, the pizzas, I just obsessed with them. I'm just obsessed with pizza, and every time I crave anything, that's what it is. And I'm sure that most people do have these cravings, but I'm learning more about these. And I'm learning where these cravings actually do come from, which I will explain to you guys later on. But I'm just trying to tell you that I have gone through the same struggles that most people in my position have gone through. Most people like myself who are just, like I said, an average person with a normal job and nothing special about myself. We've all gone through these issues. And the reason why I told you guys this little story about myself is so you guys can see that I'm not one of those people that magically have been fit their whole life and they've never had to struggle with this, and I'm just telling you things that will work for a percentage of the population. I'm telling you my story so you understand that I'm just another guy that's going to be dealing with this issue side by side with you, and hopefully you guys can learn a lot to the point that you will be the ones teaching this health benefits of all my tips and everything instead of myself. At the end of the day, that is my personal goal, is to teach enough people enough that they can go ahead and teach more, and then hopefully we can have a healthier generation. Because as it is, our generation is pretty bad with the technology and our poor eating habits and our poor sleeping habits and everything else. We're not the healthiest by any means. We're very, very, very far from healthy. Well, now that you guys know a little bit more about me, I figure I could jump into our topic of the day, which is a problem that a lot of us have, which is taking the weight off and keeping it off. So I personally think that the biggest issue why we don't keep our weight off is because we tend to fall for all these easy fixes. So what I mean by that is that instead of changing your lifestyle, which is the best thing that you can do, we tend to fall back into the little diets that you find on TV or on the internet that you think it's, oh man, this guy lost like 30 pounds, that's sweet. So you follow it, but then you follow these diets and magic pills that are just temporary. They're just a band-aid. There's nothing concrete about them. Yeah, you know what? You do lose the weight, but what happens after? You can't, drink water for 48 hours and then have one meal and then go another 48 hours without food for the rest of your life. First of all, fasting for that long is not healthy for you. There are benefits to fasting, but not for 48 hours, especially when all you're doing is drinking a bit of water with salt and then adding, a meal here and there. It's just not a healthy way of keeping your weight off, and it's not a realistic way. I mean, you end up doing that for a little bit and you're going to fall off, and you're going to fall off hard, because after that you're going to be able to eat everything that you want. You're going to be like, oh my god, I need to eat all of this pizza. And sorry that I keep bringing pizza up, but it's just, that's my obsession, and that's the hardest thing that I have to deal with when it comes to my eating habits. So like I said, we all want to go for that easy fix, and that's not the right way. That's why the weight comes off and then it comes back on even harder. Most people end up gaining more weight than what they started with, because you're just not making the right changes in your life. All you're doing is going for the quick fix and the little magic pills. If you ever read those magic pills, they tell you to do things, to follow it, and to exercise and to eat properly, because they don't work on their own. They're not magic pills. They, even on the labels themselves, they tell you that you need to exercise and you need to eat well, because that is the only way to really lose weight in a healthy manner. So the best way to take your weight off, and mostly fat, obviously you don't want to lose muscle, because muscle is a fat burner in a way. Your muscles do burn calories and everything. The best way to take this fat off you and not put it back on is by making a whole lifestyle change. By that I mean, you want to be going to bed earlier, and you want to sleep better, and you want to make sure that you're eating real food. You don't want to eat anything that has more than 5 ingredients on the label. You don't want to eat anything that you don't even know how it's made, or has ingredients that you can't even pronounce. You want to be able to eat real food and make a habit out of it. It's not that hard. I personally did it, and I've dropped about 10 pounds in the last month or so, and I haven't had a chance to exercise because of my family. So I know that it works, and I know that I feel great. I can tell you, I'm a testimony for this. I've been sleeping better. I've been full of energy. My mood has changed. There are so many benefits to changing your lifestyle that will better your weight management, and we're not doing that as a generation. We're not doing that at all. We just want to do a quick fix and then call it good, and then when you gain weight again, you want to go and do another quick fix that is probably a little more advanced than the last one you did, but you still end up gaining that weight back. So from personal experience, some of the things that I've changed that have helped me lose weight and feel great is I have changed my diet. I no longer eat pizza as much as I used to. Actually, I don't think I've had much in the last month or so. And the pizza that I do know I've had, we made it at home. There's no sense in spending 3 times the amount of money on ordering pizza when you can easily make one at home that tastes just as good and is not unhealthy. And you know where the ingredients came from. You know that the peppers and the stuff that you put in there, are organic, and they are from your fridge. They're not frozen in some sort of storage somewhere in the city. I don't even really know how it all works, but that's one of the changes that I've made, and I've managed to lose the 10 pounds. My cravings are not even there anymore. If I told you that I don't ever crave anything, that would be a lie. My workplace, they bring donuts every Sunday, and I've been able to not even want to eat them anymore. You always have people that are like, man, just have one, it's not going to kill you. But you know what? It might. At the end of the day, it might ruin a lot of things. Might not kill me in the moment, but it will definitely ruin the changes that I'm trying to make with my own life. The other thing that you can do to help you is bettering your sleep. Your sleep is huge with everything about your life, from your mood to your hormones working properly to your weight management. It's massive, and I'm working on little things here and there to improve my sleep, and it's working. And I mean, it's working. It's incredible. I never woken up in the morning with such energy or anything like that. So I will be touching these things more in depth in future episodes, but I just wanted to inform you guys where I'm at right now, and the kind of things that you'll be looking forward to from now on. One of the things that I want to make sure you guys know, and know this very well, and it's not related to the topic at all, but is that when you guys are listening to me, is that I've been there. I've struggled. I've been there with the extra weight. I've been lean. I've been everywhere in between. So I know from experience that this is not as easy as taking pills, like I said, or as easy as just doing one diet and you're good to go. And together, because I'm still working on myself, so just keep that in mind, but together I want all of us to better ourselves at the same time, and I want to be by your side while we're doing everything. That being said, I've come to the end of today's show. Thank you very, very, very much for listening. It means the whole world to me. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram on average_2savage. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast so you guys can stay up to date with me. And just so you guys know, in the future I will be having guests to tell us their story, both of failure and success, of course. And then we can learn a little bit from each and one of them, put it all together, and that way we can all become a much, much better version of ourselves. Again, thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful rest of the day.